Is that better?
I think so. I feel a bit safer now in frame. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 93 of the 10-minute modeling challenge. It's gonna happen this week, I'm pretty sure. I'm at 199,964 subscribers. So since we're gonna hit that 200k pretty soon, I'm gonna schedule the 24-hour live stream. I'm not exactly sure on the date yet, but let's set it for probably a Saturday is gonna be the best. And it might be not this one, but the next one, because Ludum Dare is in 2 days. So I'll probably do it the weekend after that maybe. It's going to be really exciting, but I'll make sure that I'll announce it in the Discord, and I'll put a little mini video up as well on YouTube so you know when the date is, so you can save that one for the live stream. It's going to be fun. Just editing my video right now, episode 93 of the 10-minute modeling challenge. And finished the editing. I'm just going to add the music now, and I'm just refreshing my studio page here because I'm on 199,996 subscribers, so it wouldn't be totally unlikely that we hit 200k now as I'm putting music to this. A year and a half ago, it took me 9 years to get to 10,000 subscribers, but mostly of my videos then were about my music and some assets and stuff. But when I started to do more regular YouTube videos, especially the 10-minute modeling challenge, that's what really kicked it up, I think. But I had a few serious attempts at some YouTube videos before that. But keeping that regular flow and having a lot of new people coming in, doing the premieres every week this is going to be the 93rd consecutive week of 10-minute modeling challenge videos now. It's paid off in the long run so far, 200,000 subscribers, and still aiming for that gold star play button at 1 million. Don't know when or if it'll happen, but I'm having fun getting there. So should we refresh one more time? 199,999. We're still there. Oh, I'm going to keep refreshing now. I should really be compiling the video because it's supposed to air in 3.5 hours now, and the HD processing of YouTube is a bit slow recently. So, but it just happened on the dot. 200,000 subscribers. Thank you so much again for subscribing. Super thankful. It means a lot, and I'll just keep making content, keep putting some more videos out there. We're going to reach episode 100 soon of the 10-minute modeling challenge, and also thanks a lot to my patrons, patreon.com/Imphenzia. A lot of you have come through my YouTube channel. I've been doing a lot of stuff in Blender recently, and I'm really excited. I'm learning a lot about Eevee and rendering and lighting and stuff, so we're going to continue on that path. And for this video, I'm going to do revisit an old topic, but do it with a new twist. So we're doing a lot of the lighting and like trying to get the vibes correct in Eevee rendering, because I want that speed that Eevee offers. Even though I love cycles, I want to try to achieve really good results with Eevee as much as I can, since it's so much faster. So we're going to spin off an old clone. We're going to take a spaceship from the past, but we're going to put it in like a little spaceship hangar and then play around a little bit with the lights and see if we can get some cool vibes going there. If you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to run through this setup a little bit more in detail, because I've made some changes. I've put a standard or average size human in here and a 1 by 1 by 1 meter cube, so I get the references. So I'm going to probably keep this in my future start scenes as well, just so I have something quickly to go about. You can place this little character every here and there and say that they can get through passages and that the windows are on the correct height and things. But if you stay to the end of the video, make sure that you check out the setup, because I'll run through all the settings with my materials and how I've set up ambient occlusion and screen space reflections, because we're going to try to get some nice reflections going on in the scene now, so we get the mood a lot better now in Eevee when we render it. So again, stay to the end of the video and check out how the scene was set up if you want to see that one. Okay, with that said, we're going to do a spacecraft in a spacecraft or spaceship hangar, and we're going to try to get some cool lightings going there, some metallic surfaces and some, I don't know, poles, twisted boxes, maybe some octagon type of boxes or just square boxes. I don't know. Ready, steady, go, and we're off. I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate that one, hide it so we get it for later. A to select everything in edit mode. Oh, we need to go to auto mirror, of course. We're gonna do a spaceship. Always need to be symmetry. Let's put it a bit over his head there, literally. And let's start the usual maneuvers here. E to extrude, E to extrude, E to extrude, S to scale. I'm just doing some, so I've got some more geometry here. Control R for some reason, loop cut. And my spaceships always tend to look the same. This is not going to be any different. I need to like read up a little bit on, or like Google spaceship design, so I can get some different looks on them, but never mind. I'm gonna do something like a carrier ship that can carry something. I feel like doing I to inset, Alt S to scale along normals, E to extrude. So I'm gonna have these things coming down here that can collect like something, maybe with some sort of an arm or something. Control R. That's gonna be different at least, but it still needs wing, even though it's a spacecraft here. E to extrude, S to scale. It always needs wings. It looks cooler, I think. So E to extrude that on, scale, Control R. Let's, should we do like, we'll rotate this. I think I usually do that too, but rotate and maybe even more. E to extrude, S to scale. So transporter ship, here we come. And I also like to put these things, so like Alt E, extrude long face normals. And then should we scale this down? We should scale G to move that forward. And here as well, let's just do scale and bring it back. There we go. And here, let's do something with the front here. I'll bring this so I get a little bit wider maybe. And then E to extrude over his head here again. He's lucky he's got clearance there. E to extrude, he should move actually. So he doesn't get hurt in the process. Control R, should we do like this? Get some Alt S, I'll do like a Alt S to scale that along their normals to get a little bit more detail there. For reflections, we're going to do a lot of reflections in a minute. So G to move that on. Should we put it there? We should. I don't know. And then Alt S, select all of this. And now we need some sort of a cockpit type of thing here. So let's go all the way back to there. E to extrude, S to scale this. G to move that on. And I'm going to put the cockpit maybe further back actually. I like that. I like it when it's further back. Get that center of gravity over the collection point here. E to extrude. So actually I'm going to do all the way to here then. So we'll do E to extrude, S to scale it, G to move that on. So we're going to do some reflective curved surfaces here for the reflections too. So we're going to light this thing in a minute. So, but we need engines. Always need engines. So let's grab that face. Shift D to duplicate it, scale it up. And put the engines here, E to extrude, and there we go. Control R, Alt S, oh no, I'll just do scale on the Z axis for now. And then Control R, let's manually brew? No, let's scale it on the X axis too there. That should do it. And then E to extrude, S to scale. The intakes here, again, not necessary on a spaceship, but it needs to take in something, maybe space particles or something, so they can accelerate them. E to extrude, S to scale, I to inset, E to extrude, G to move that on. And we should make the whole spaceship a little bit different color here actually. We should make it like a steely blue type of thing. Nicer reflections. Let's get the front a bit longer maybe. And let's bring this in. I'm not sure, I'm just tweaking some minor tweaks. We need more intakes, don't we? The unnecessary intakes we need more of. So let's get one going here maybe. Just there, a small one here. I to inset, E to extrude, and go dark there. Can be that one. And here we need darker sections on this one, don't we? Let's do Alt select there, Alt Shift select there, Control plus. Get that down to a darker blue there. And here's the thing now. We need. Should we do another intake? We should. Let's put something here. Alt E, extrude long face normals. Oh, we need fins as well. Always room for fins. I to inset, E to extrude. Oh, we need boundary. I to inset, B for boundary to get that center thing. E to extrude that on. Black. And here's where I'm going to shade these smooth now. Control R. We need a little bit more detail. Control R. Alt S. And we'll bring this one forward a bit. This is just so we get, when we put the lighting in the bonus material, we want a little bit more stuff to reflect here. So, select a bunch of these, and now I'm going to go to face. This is, rarely do this, but shade smooth for that one. So we'll see. It'll make more sense in a minute, I think. 457, okay, let's just keep going with the thing here. Should we do, I'm going to put like a stand on it like it's parked, so E to extrude. And here, let's do something. Watch your head there. Yeah, you just made it. I don't know, it looks like a pregnant spaceship now. And E to extrude that on. Even more intakes. We're going to set a new world record here in unnecessary intakes. Oh yeah, this is... Okay, so I'm going to do like it's landed now. so we need like some legs for it, don't we? That I don't think I've done that in any episodes before, so that's going to be a first. So let's do I to inset, E to extrude, and go like dark there or something. GG to slide this one down, and here I'm going to do Shift D, scale, E to extrude, S to scale it down, and it's going to have some weird feet here. It needs to make it all the way down to the ground here, so E to extrude, scale Z0. It's a little trick to get that one flat. It's going to have to be good enough, that. And then Alt E, extrude along individual faces. Now let's make some like weird looking feet here, just so I'll select the top edges there, bring those, oh, wrong edges, select, 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 and move them down. There we go. We can't be too picky with this one, unfortunately, so let's just do, it looks like some weird cartoon foot, never mind. And I should bring this foot forward as well, so Control plus, bring it to there, Shift D, we've got clipping enabled, so I can just slide this in and merge those into one foot, bring it up to there. And let's just, I need to put a face here, face or F to cap that one. Rotate this one, E to extrude, S to scale, the skinnier in the front here. E to extrude, rotate. But okay, we don't have time for details here, so that's gonna have to do. Move that one forward, and I just put some more details on it. But that intake is gonna cause us a problem, so maybe that's the intake to get airflow around this thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? No. Trying to make stuff that doesn't make sense makes sense. So E to extrude this one. Here's where the like foot comes down. Oh, I've got 2 minutes. We should colorize it a little bit. Should that do? Okay, that should do. And we need to just get this foot here. I'm wasting a lot of time here. Never mind. Okay, let's colorize it a little bit. So this one obviously needs to be black because it's cool with like shaded black stuff. C to circle select maybe faster. There we go. G all the way up here to black, and then we should put, oh, we don't have any fins. We always need fins on a ship. So Shift D to duplicate, scale, E to extrude, S to scale, G, and put the slant on them. Always looks cooler. And since we can put scale, little micro fins here. Scale Y, scale X. Oh no. Okay, period. No, comma, normal, scale X, E to extrude, S to scale. When you do fins, it's pretty good to have that. Should we put something here as well? E to extrude, of course we should. Scale X, because now we're on those ones there. And we've got 1 minute. Okay, colors. We need colors of some sort. We'll go from there to there. Should that be cool? I think so. I to inset, Alt S to scale, bring it in slightly for no particular reason. G, let's make it orange. Orange and blue probably works. Yeah. And we need some here maybe too as well. I'll do what I normally do actually. So we'll do I to inset again, Alt S to scale it down, and G, orange. Should we put some panels on? I think so. Maybe here. There. I to inset, Alt S to scale. We'll put one here. I to inset, Alt S to scale. I've got 45 seconds. Let's just put some paneling on there. I to inset, Alt S to scale. Should we put some here? It looks a bit too weird here in the back, so, but it's going to be in the back, so you can't really see it. So we've got the landing thing here. Should we put something here as well? Like here's where he can, it's like a micro transport ship for a change, even though it looks like a fighter. So let's just put a dark area here. And we've got 22 seconds. We could pretend that there's like some sort of a grabbing arm thing here. E to extrude, E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude. It's actually going to connect in the post now. I'll put like a box there or something that's like connected to E to extrude, E to extrude, S to scale. It's going to be picking something up there. So I don't know why I look surprised. I knew that was coming. All right. So time is up. Here's our weird, like a combination of a spaceship and a carrier of some sort. And we've got this little reference guy here, so we know that this is a really small ship. First of all, we should move the camera back. So let's move the camera back to there, maybe. One thing I'm reacting on is that it's very chubby, the ship. So I want it to be, maybe it'll be a little bit wider. And I think we can just get away with selecting everything, moving it out like this. Maybe it will work. Instantly, that looks a little bit cooler, except this foot got giant. So let's take that's Shift L on the leg there, because we don't want to make that any wider than it already is. And then move it wider, looks cooler, doesn't it? So maybe like this. And then maybe we'll scale it. Okay, comma, global, scale on the x-axis. Make the whole thing a little bit wider. I'm guessing that looks a bit better. A bit wider. Yeah, I think I like that look a little bit more. It's a bit compact as well. Should we make it a little bit longer? We could have proportional on here. Oh, select a few front faces. G, a y-axis. Scale up the proportional. I tend to use proportional even on like low poly stuff, so I'm not too afraid of using it. Maybe this is slightly too skinny in the front here, is it? Those wings there. Nah, it's alright. We're not going to be tinkering too much anyway. What we could do, put some lights here, because we've got the emissive texture. So on the lower right quadrant, I'll run through the settings of the materials in a minute, but we've got some lights already set up there. Oh, these are hovering in air. I have to fix that though. So if you've seen this channel before, we're allowed some post modeling tinkering here. So I'm just gonna bring this whole thing up so the engines connect there. That makes a little bit more sense. Maybe we can move the whole engine in and the fin there. Oop, I deleted it by mistake. There. So that's a bit better, I guess. And they're not really that straight either, but that's okay. The bonus material now is going to be trying to convert this scene now into something a little bit prettier than this dark dull thing. Okay, spoiler alert, if you don't want to see what the end result looks like, look away now. This is what the end result is going to look like after we've gone through the rest of the modeling and some setting up of the lights and the reflections and ambient occlusion. So stick around if you want to see it all the way to the end. And now you can look back if you looked away. I've only got a few lights set up. I've got this blue light from the side here. If we check out the settings, we've got a spotlight from the right here. 900 watt or 900,000 watts. That's a strong light, but it's quite far away. And I've got a red one from the left there, 700,000, and a little backlight, orange. So that's why it's lighting up like this. Now to make this take it a little bit to the next level, I'm gonna put I'll enable this original cube here. And let's rename this one called Spacecraft or something. Don't know why I don't call it Spaceship. I hardly ever say Spacecraft. Let's move it up to here. And let's move this little guy up too. And then we'll just put him there for now. And this one I'm going to convert into like a little docking area. So scale this one, Shift Z. So we don't scale it on the Z axis. And let's make a little pad like this maybe. Bring it back to there. And then we can place this one down again. It was just to get it something to stand on. And I've got a few materials already, so it can be, yeah, that one will be good. Should we make it a little bit wider? Scale Z. There we go. And then I'm just going to put some random stuff here in the back so we get, or should we put a light on first? No, I need a roof. This is going to be like a space hangar. Let's pretend that this is inside like a mothership or something. Let's just do this. E to extrude this one. E to extrude so we get like a sidewall there. Actually, I'll do it all the way around. So E to extrude. But I don't think I'll put a sidewall on here because I want to be able to see it. So, but let's do sidewalls here then. E to extrude this. And then I'll do Control R. It's going to be like a smaller area here. Control R. Let's just put a few. Control R again. And here could be like an entrance thing. Oh, I've got this thing going. Okay, I need to make this thicker. Shift selected there. Oh, I've got proportional on. So let's move that into there. Should we do this too? Shift. I want to have like, so it looks like some doors. I'm not going to care too much about the surroundings. I'm just gonna render from like one angle or something. So here, now I can do E to extrude here. Control R. Just some more details. Control R a few times. Control R. Control R in here as well. E to extrude this one in. But let's just make some fake stuff so it makes more sense. And then here, E to extrude this one. Control R. And there we go. So now we've got at least a little start here. Let's put some objects here here as well. Shift D to duplicate. And should we do like, let's make that smaller. E to extrude 1 meter. That's too small. 2 meters. It's going to be some crate things. So maybe, actually, do you know what we'll do? Here's, we're going to put what it's going to carry here. So it can carry these type of boxes of some sort. So I'm just going to put a box there. And it's like some, I don't know, survey boxes or mini transport pods. I don't know what it is. But let's do L to select the link, I to inset again for individual. And then Alt-E, extrude long face normals down. And then maybe S or comma, or no, period. And let's do individual origins, scale those down so we get that like weird look on it. Scale the whole thing up a little bit. And that could be grabbing onto these ledges here by the looks of it. And then let's colorize these. So we'll go in again for like this metallic blue type of look instead. And then I'm going to select these faces and make them dark maybe. Should we get the bottom? Alt Z to see through so I could see through. Gee, should we make that? Should those be red maybe? Okay, it's a bit dark, but we're going to light this in just a minute now. Just a moment. So before we light it, should we put like some sort of a fake ceiling on here? So Shift D. Let's pretend that there's like a floor on top here as well. E to extrude that one. Alt S to, or scale. Shift Z to scale on the Z axis. And here I'm going to put some roof lights now. I think that's going to make a big difference now. So Shift D to duplicate this one. And let's put a face there. Scale X axis. Move that one in. E to extrude it. I to inset and E to extrude. And here, again, I think I'll do this whole top roof or ceiling thing like this blue as well. And here I've got the emissive materials now. So this face, it's going to be like a light thing. So I'm going to select this face, G to move it down to here. And that's going to start putting some fake lighting first of all, because this is the emission now. But we're going to put some area lights here as well. Let's bring it down to here. So we're already starting to get that blue light there. Should we move the camera back slightly more? No, we shouldn't. We'll bring the ceiling down a little bit more instead. To there. Oh, we can move the camera back slightly at least. Comma, so we can do local and slide it back. Slide it up a little bit to there maybe. Okay, so we still haven't put a light on because this is just the emission, so that lights it up a little bit, but it doesn't light it up enough. So if we do Shift right click here and do Shift A, and let's add a light, and let's put an area light here. And Shift space G. Why don't I see the moving handle on it? Am I playing an animation? No. Where did the light go? Oh, there we go. It's disabled. I don't know why I put it in the ground collection. Ground selection to Major Tom. Ground control. Ground selection. That's so now if we move this one down to there, scale on the x-axis and scale on the y-axis there. So we roughly match that one, and then crank the strength of the light up here. Should we do like 2000 watts? That should be good. And this one is in the back here, so let's duplicate that in a second. I'm gonna just separate this into a separate object, and let's call it light, or ceiling light. And then I'm gonna select this one. First we'll do right click, set origin to center of mass, so we get the origin here, a little bit easier to see and move. Grab this light, shift click that one, control P, and parent that one, so that when I move this object now, it's gonna be there. And now we can just duplicate this one. Shift D to duplicate. Shift D to duplicate. Oh, I need to grab the light too. So Shift select both of those. Shift D to duplicate. And Shift D to duplicate. And that's it. We've got a little bit more lighting going on. We can do a test render, F12. That makes it look a little bit more interesting, but not really that good because the backgrounds and stuff is not detailed enough. So to finish off now, I'm just going to put some more emissive lights on it, and I'm going to put some junk in the back, so it just makes a little bit more sense. I can duplicate this one a bunch of times, so Shift D, let's just stack a few of these here in the back. Rotate Z, Shift D. I'm not going to keep these as separate objects, it's just to have some sort of some stuff in the background here. Rotate Z, so I don't really care if it's separate objects. Shift D, Shift D, rotate Z, and then here on the walls and stuff, we'll just do a bunch of weird like wall features. So I'm gonna put scale Y, and let's bring this one down. E to extrude that on, and then Control R, E to extrude, bring it down, E to extrude, bring that down. And then for some more interesting stuff, I think I'll do select the edges there, and let's bevel those for some reflections. Control B, and duplicate this one to over here. Okay, I have to move those boxes in a minute. Rotate Z 90. Okay, rotate Z 180. Let's move these boxes out that got squashed. And some more feature. I'm just going to do like loads of weird stuff here. So let's do Alt, select there, I to inset, I again because I don't want individual, Alt S, no, I to inset again, Alt S, and then go dark here on the texture, there you go. And then we'll put some slidey door here, Shift E to duplicate that one, Scale X, E to extrude, and we can put, well, I'll do the same thing here. Some more details, just I to inset, I to inset, I to inset again, Alt S to extrude, G, black. This one we should colorize instead. Let's make that the steel blue look, blue steel. Shift D, Scale Y, E to extrude, and here. Alt select linked G, and there. Maybe we'll put a little lights on the spacecraft itself too. So this could be, first should we put here maybe? I to inset, E to extrude, and then change it to the emissive part here. Should we do like a pink light here? For the cyber look, I think so. Pink and orange. Should we do orange light instead? Let's do an orange light. And I think I'm going to put a little area light here too. So Shift right click, right click, or Shift A and add area light. And rotate around the Y axis. Rotate around the X axis. Scale it down a bit, move it in. I'm not going to be too picky to get it right in place. It's just to test it out a little bit. Scale Y, scale X. I know there's some stuff that you can do to align it with the surface and stuff, but let's just keep it simple for now. And change that to orange, and then put a little light there. Puts a little twist in the floor there to get it a little bit more interesting maybe. And then should we put one here as well? Like these could literally be some sort of a searchlighty things. So G, emissive orange. Did I make that emissive orange? Yeah, I did. Copy this one, Shift D, and I'll just like rotate around the y-axis, G to move it into place. Slide it back to there. Rotate G. Rotate X, G. Rotate on the Z-axis and G. So a couple of lights there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spend a little bit of time to model this. And the only thing I'm going to do is the same thing that I've just done now. I'll just repeat it, but I'll put a little bit of fast forward just to not drag this out too long. So I'm going to do exactly the same operations now. I'm going to take faces. I'm going to do Shift D to duplicate them. Press S to scale them. E to extrude them. S to scale them again. And just move them and tweak them. And let's see, what else should I do? I should be able to, I'll rotate them. I'll colorize them. So if like, let's pick another one here. I to inset. E to extrude. And then I'll change the color. So on the top left here, G to move that one to like a black color. So I'm going to be doing this operation over and over and over again, taking faces, duplicating them, and moving them into place. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the colors here on the top left, and then I'm going to put some emissive stuff every here and there. And the thing I do for that one is I'll take, for example, let's put a little panel here. So I'll do Shift D to duplicate this whole thing, scale it on the X-axis, bring it over here, scale Z, scale up, scale X. Excessive scaling here. And then this is going to be a panel, and now we've got this little reference human here, so we know roughly it needs to be all the way down here for them to access it. And E to extrude, I to inset, E to extrude, and then I'll put it where you can't see it. So let's move it here actually to this wall. No, you can't see it. Okay, let's just put it there anyway, because what I was going to show is I'm going to change this one to, I could put this one to black, for example, and then we'll put something on the screen here. And then I'll select this face, do Shift D to duplicate that one, scale it down, E to extrude it, and then L, and then I'm going to change this one to an emissive color. So on the left side here, while those faces are selected, I'll drag it down to the lower right quadrant for this material and put it onto, like, let's put it onto this blue color there. And let's move this into space so we can actually see it. So tab intitled mode, LL, and then move it. And now you can see that that's actually lit up here. Let's do F12 for a render. So that one's actually lighting up now. And if I want to emphasize the light, I'll put a little area light there to cover that one too. So I'll just keep doing that now over and over again on this scene, and I'll put a little bit on fast forward because it's literally just repeating the same process over and over again and put in more and more detail. One thing that I'd advise is to try to cover the whole scene with the same amount of details, so you don't end up with like a large area with a single color, unless it's maybe the floor. But even the floor, I think, will look better if you do some paneling and stuff. So again, sit back, relax, and we'll fast forward this a little bit, and then we'll see how much of a difference it makes by just doing the operation a bunch of times. Okay, here's another trick actually. I'm going to repeat something here. So I'm going to do Shift D, X, -1, okay, -2. That's 2 meters apart then. Shift R now. I'll just repeat that process over and over again. So repetitive stuff and symmetry usually looks good. So keep that in mind. And Shift R just repeats the last operation that I did. I also switch a lot if I press period here between medium point and individual origins, because if I have medium point here and I press scale on the Z axis, I can actually scale like a thing. And another thing I do a lot, of course, is Control R for the loop cuts and just use the mouse wheel to go up and down. Scale Z. And if it doesn't scale, it's probably because you're still on individual origins there. Scale doesn't have any impact, but period, change it to medium point there. That's how you get them to scale independent or together like this. So then scale Y L blue steel. I can't do that. So there we go. Alt select linked. Shift D Y and we'll put this 4 meters apart. Shift R a few times. There we go. When we've got the lighting going as well, it's pretty good to bevel edges every here and there. So when they look straight like this, it doesn't reflect the lights as much as stuff that is beveled. So another thing to do is to try to put a lot of little beveled edges here and there. And I think I'll do the same on different panels and stuff and just bevel it and get little panels going. So we'll see the difference that makes. Actually, let's just Alt to select the linked, Control B to bevel that whole thing. Same thing for this one, Alt to select the linked, Control B to bevel them. And let's see what difference that makes. See, the light shines off and reflects it a little bit more there. I to inset twice as well. If you toggle between I and I double I, then you go between individual faces and I again, it does them uniformly like this. Alt S to scale is pretty good as well, because then if I just press S to scale, it'll scale it like this, but Alt S scales it in the direction of the normal, so you automatically get these little beveled edges then if you do Alt S. I to inset, Alt S. I to inset, Alt S. So that's how we can get those floor panels going a little bit. I'm gonna take this light away as well. I just realized that it's cluttering the image a little bit maybe with the light. So I want to keep the light focus on the aircraft itself. So I'm gonna take away this front light here. Makes it a little bit darker around it. And I think I might move these so they're uniformly above the spaceship, just to put the focus on the spaceship itself, or spacecraft, whatever the difference is. I think that's pretty good actually. Let's try that. F12. I think the red stuff on the crates annoyed me a little bit, so I decided to go away from that and just make them a little bit of the same color scheme there. And I'm gonna bevel them too. So L to select all the links, and let's do a little cheat bevel here. Control B. A lot of unnecessary geometry here for this one, but never mind. There we go. Just to get the lights off them a little bit better. Let's see, even if I like the metallic look a lot of this scene with the reflections, one thing that I'm thinking about is that it makes the spaceship blur in a little bit. So I'm thinking we could darken all the walls. So I'll select everything on this object here, which includes all the walls and stuff. And we've got the wall colors up here. And if we move these into a darker one, let's just shift them to here. I think the overall is that it gives a little bit more emphasis on the spaceship itself. So let's try to render this one. I think it's a little bit easier to see that the spaceship is there if the walls are a little bit darker like that. I don't know if I necessarily... I really liked the way they were shining before, but I think just for this scene I'll keep it for now, so that you can see a little bit more on the spaceship, so by darkening that a little bit like that. One more thing we can do is just put a little animation on this one, maybe to get slight camera movement. So I'll go into the animations tab here, Z, and render. We can see this view here as well. I'll grab the camera here, and then we'll just animate it. And I've set up my hotkey for camera fly movement. I don't know what the default key is, but I've set mine to Shift F. So we can go to frame number 1 here. And then I'll do Shift F on the left side here, and we can move the camera to here maybe. And then I'll do I to insert location rotation keyframe. And then I'll just scroll to 360, Shift F, and let's move the camera to over here, just to get a bit of movement. And then I to insert location rotation, and then when we press play now, we'll get a little bit of a movement in the scene. So again, this is like very low poly look, the scene itself, so it'll probably look a little bit better if it's scaled down in a small preview. On full screen it still looks quite polygony and stuff, but you could add a little bit more detail, and it just takes it one more iteration of detail to bring it up to like a 1080p, I think. Look, now it looks pretty good in like half that size maybe. But again, twice the amount of detail, but that will take like 4 times more time to make than this one, I'd say. I'm going to upload this file as well, like I've done with the previous 10-minute modeling challenge videos, to my Patreon site. So patreon.com/Imphenzia, the tutorial tier, will be able to download this. But I'll run through the way I've set this up. I'll try to cover all the different settings to get the scene to look like this. But again, the file can be downloaded from my Patreon, so thanks a lot, and the support helps a lot. So there are a few things in the scene that's important to know, and a few of them are lights, the second one are the materials, and then we've got a little bit of stuff on compositing and also some ambient occlusion and stuff. So I want to run through everything. So first of all, let's go to the material tab. My main material here, if we pick the spaceship and I go to the shading tab, is that I've set up a few things. First of all, you might recognize my palette here, which is, if I change the view here. So piped into my base color is my Albedo Texture, and it's this whole big palette thing here. top left one here is to set basically just a plain color. So when you see me, instead of UV unwrapping, so whenever I just have a face here and I select where the UVs should be, I can pick a color here on this gradient texture. On the right here, I've set up transparency. Well, I haven't really used that in this scene. Maybe we'll do that next week. And on the bottom right here, I've used a few of those, and basically it looks the same here. But for the lower right quadrant, I've got this texture set up. So the emission texture. And you can see that it's black all the way up here, and it's because all the surfaces here are actually emissive, but they're emitting nothing, so black. But in the lower right quadrant, I've got these different strengths. So the further to the left in this cell of the color, the stronger it'll be. And that's why some of the stuff like the ceiling lights and stuff light up in the scene, because I've placed them to the left in the blue area here where it's quite strong. And you can see that this emission is piped in here into emission, and then the strength is all the way up to 20. So it produces a really strong emission light here. You might notice that, one more thing that we haven't really used today is the alpha, and that's plugged into this alpha channel. So that's pretty much, I'll show you that one too. Here's the opacity texture, and it's the top right quadrant. You see, if it's white here, it's full opacity, so it's, or full opaque, so it's solid. But the further to the right in a cell up on this texture here, the further to the right in this color, the more transparent it'll be. So I can actually control by creating surfaces that way, if they should be transparent or emissive. And there's one more thing here I've set up is Ambient Occlusion. And to get that to work, I can show you what it looks like with and without. So Z here, go to rendered. If we unplug this and go, let's see, rendered, why is this all pale? There we go, I had it selected. Let's get rid of that cursor. If I go straight from the albedo color here into base color and then let it load, you might not be able to see that much of a difference, but let's find a spot here. Let's try again. Go here and look in these areas here. It's very subtle now. Maybe I can actually emphasize it by dragging this gradient here. If I go all the way here, you see that it's a lot of dark areas around, and this is a little bit like the cavity setting in the workbench renderer. Ambient occlusion basically looks where it fakes where shadows should be. So it's got a lot of limitations, I'd say, but usually you can get quite a good result if you use it. So if I go all the way to black here, you can see it's really exaggerating that effect. I've set it up so that it does a color ramp. So it does a little slight shading. It's a little bit difficult to see if you disable it like this, but there is a slight difference here. So it looks just a little bit better in the shaded areas. And to do that, I've pressed Shift A here and searched for the Ambient Occlusion node. And I've plugged the AO here into the factor or FAC, whatever that is, into a color ramp. And that's just because I can translate then the Ambient Occlusion and control it a little bit more with the gradient ramp here. And then this one is taking the Ambient Occlusion and mixing it with a multiply. So it takes my albedo texture here and it multiplies it by the Ambient Occlusion. And if I change the factor here, you can see, especially up here, for example, that in those cavity areas there, it'll actually apply some nice shading to it. So I think that's pretty important. And I'll in order to get the Ambient Occlusion to work here in Eevee, then first of all, you can use it in compositing as well, but there's some downside to use it in the composite node. I spent quite a lot of time before applying the Ambient Occlusion here as a post-processing effect, but it had some negative sides that I didn't really like, especially if you want to render with transparent background. So I decided to go for the one where I actually run it straight into the material here, so I can control it that way instead. For the Ambient Occlusion to show up here or even work, in the rendering tab, you have to go to the render settings here, or render properties, and you have to enable Ambient Occlusion here. And that has to be enabled, and then there are a few settings. I've set mine here to 6 meters with a factor of 1, and then you can increase the quality here as well if you want to do trace precision, which we can actually do. And I've also enabled bloom here, and bloom makes those nice blurry. If I disable bloom and press F12, you can see that all those nice lighting lit up areas around the lights are all disappeared, so it just becomes quite boring. So I'd say that bloom, again, let's check it with, that adds this little nice blooming effect to it. And you can control that. My settings are set to these if you want to look on the screen here. but you can control the intensity of it and some radiuses and what color it should be. You can actually also apply something similar to the bloom in the post-processing. In compositing here, there's a node called glare node. And if we take that one, I'll plug it into there. And instead of streaks here, we'll go to fog glow. And then we can actually preview it here in this background that I've set up by, I've got this view, actually, let's do this. Let me see. There. If it's just like this is the normal look for it, but if I do Shift A here, search here for view, we can add the viewer node. And then we can plug the effect here. It goes straight into compositing, but we can drag this so we can see the effect here. And I have to enable the backdrop as well. Then we can see it in real time, and you can zoom in and out here with V zooms it out, and Shift V, no, Alt V zooms it in again. So you can actually see the post-processing here on the fly. So with the glare here, we can actually control a little bit. With the fog glow, you could do threshold, change the threshold. You can change the size of it. And here, a few different settings, high, low, medium. So if you want that foggy look, you could even go for maybe some post-processing here. Okay, so just be aware then that you could actually use this glare node either in combination or instead of bloom, and it could help you out a little bit. And here's where you could also unplug the ambient occlusion and apply it here. Let's see, if I do Shift A, mix, and then we'll do the image here, and then ambient occlusion, multiply this one, and then plug that into here. Then you can see you can actually apply the ambient occlusion in here as well. But there are some pros and cons to that if you want to do it in, because it applies the ambient occlusion here after it's applied the bloom, but before we put the glare on. So there are some different ways you can like play around with this, I guess, to get it to look the way you want. We can leave it like this for now, actually. So now we're actually applying ambient occlusion both in the material stage and in the compositing here. And we've actually got bloom and we've got the glare node. I haven't really used it this way before, but I'm actually quite pleased with the result. So if I just plug it, if we bypass the compositing altogether here, this is what it looks like. But if we have the compositing, then it gets quite a nice atmosphere to it and some extra glow and stuff for... I guess we could leave it like that for now. And again, this blend file, if you are a patron on patreon.com/Imphenzia, if you go under the tutorial tier, you'll be able to download this file because I'll be uploading this one today. Okay, and if the ambient occlusion node doesn't show up here at all, then it's because in render layers here, you need to have the ambient occlusion ticked here. So if you go to the view layer properties, then this one is not enabled by default. And you can see that that just disappeared from the node there. So it's important that you have that one ticked under the layers here. Oh yeah, another one is screen space reflection. And this one we can actually increase the quality a little bit on too, since we're not rendering big animations. So with and without screen space, if I disable screen space reflection here, then you can see all the reflections that we had from the surfaces. So the spaceship reflecting in the base here, you still get some light reflections, but the reflections from the objects will disappear to a big degree. So screen space reflection, let's render with that one again and see the difference. Let's go up the quality as well. We'll do full resolution trace and trace precision max. So in the material here, to get the screen space reflection to work properly, then not only does it need to be enabled, but you have to pay attention a little bit to these settings in your material. So the metallic value here is how reflective the surface should be. So if I bring this one all the way down, then you can see that a lot of the reflections disappear. And if I bring it all the way to the top, then it becomes very reflective and it's like nearly like solid metal here. So, but another parameter that's important here is the roughness. So if I bring this one down, the roughness, you can see it becomes like a mirror and all the light is sort of eaten up. It doesn't absorb anywhere. So that's why it becomes so dark. If you want it very reflective, you need to bring it down to here, you get like nearly like a super polished look. But be careful with the metallic so you're not too high, because then it'll just become like black. It's all absorbed by the lights. But you can slide it down maybe so you can have a low metallic look. This one's pretty cool too. It's like really shiny. And specular as well is how much light should be bounced off when you're looking from a perspective, but we're not using too much of that at the moment, so I'll just leave that as it is. So this is Eevee alone when you're rendering it, and I usually like to apply that cavity look too. So should we do one test as well where we're doing like, let's up the render sampling here to 124. Press F12. Let's render this one. Save. Eevee render. And then switch to Workbench. Trusted old Workbench. Save. Cycles. Oh no. Workbench. And let's try to combine these. So I loaded up the Eevee render here in Photoshop, and let's drag the Workbench render in on top of it, and then change from the blending mode here to color dodge, and then change so it's not fully that strong. And that could also be quite an interesting effect then. I'm not sure if it actually needs it anymore. So, but I think the Eevee render enough, it's going to be enough. But it's one way to make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. Alright, that's going to be it for this week. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was fun to revisit the good old spacecraft or spaceship theme again. I'm sure I'll be doing that plenty in the future. And next week, maybe I'll try to do a little bit more about the alpha materials, because that's another tricky area a little bit in Eevee rendering. And I've learned a little bit about how to get decent results with the alpha transparency and without having to go with that blurry alpha hash look. But if that makes no sense, that's fine. We'll cover that in a future video. So thank you once again. Hit the like button if you liked the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the 10-Minute Modeling Challenge. Until then, bye for now.